Hello everybody, today I'm going to be going over an overview of the Druid to try to help you decide if you want to go and play the Druid and going into Season 1. Maybe you haven't played it yet, maybe you've been looking at it, just so I can give you a realistic idea of what you're looking at. So first off, this is before the patch that's coming out on the 18th. So this could all change. It is all subject to change depending on what those changes are. However, they haven't really done a whole lot of nerfing of aspect of the rampaging werebeast yet. And if they do not do something significant with that, the meta is going to stay probably somewhat similar. There might be some changes, but it will probably still just be people running skills inside of Grizzly Rage. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So first off, when it comes to the leveling experience, the leveling experience is a little odd because they are very legendary reliant. It's not super great. However, if you go and do something like grab Shepherd's Aspect, then get all the companions, and then it'll kind of help ease the pain. It'll make your core skills do a ton of damage. Like for example, I think Landslide is probably the best core skill to level with. However, it just kind of sucks that your leveling options are limited, but if you do play it right and you do go and find the right combination of stuff with the codex, or maybe if you get a lucky drop, you can do other stuff. Like for example, if you went and got Shepherd's Aspect from the codex, then you went and got Changeling's Dead Aspect from the codex, you could potentially do like a Poison Bomb pulverized Druid that will probably do a decent amount of damage, especially if you have Poison Creeper and stuff like that going. So Poison Creeper is probably it kind of carries your leveling experience in my opinion. It's a very, very strong ability base at pretty much all levels. So when it comes to leveling experience, if you are good at building, if you like build complexity, if that's your thing, sure, play the Druid. But if you don't like building, if you want something that has that's very simple to level on, I'm not sure I'd recommend the Druid. That being said, the Druid is very fun, especially at the end game. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But there is some issues with the in-game, which is what I will get into now, which is Grizzly Rage has kind of overtaken the current meta, which is a upside and a downside in itself. So it's an upside because all the best builds are just taking one of the core skills and then they're putting it inside Grizzly Rage, and then with the aspect of the rampaging werebeast, which gives us really big critical strike damage buff, it just causes any core skill you decide that you want to use to do a ton of damage. So you can play virtually any core skill you want, but that being said, it's probably going to be inside Grizzly Rage. So if you're not into the whole shape-shifting thing, I'm not sure I can recommend Druid for you at this time, because the majority of the best Druid builds are shape-shifting builds currently, right? Not only that, the ultimate selection, these three ultimates are just nowhere near as good as Grizzly Rage. The majority of the time, you just see people using Grizzly Rage. So if you're into shape-shifting, it's not really a bad time to be playing Druid. It's kind of a shape-shifting meta. That's kind of what is going on right now. But outside of that, if you just wanted to be like a Storm Druid that didn't shape-shift, I don't know if I can really recommend the Druid for you then, because you're just gonna be unfortunately playing just a strictly worse version of whatever it is. Now keep in mind, this is at the end game. You can really play whatever you want while you level up, but once you start getting into World Tier 3 and World Tier 4, that's when you're going to start to notice not all abilities are made the same, and certain abilities are going to take you farther than others. With that being said, when it also comes to the in-game build, the last thing I'd probably say is that keep in mind you are going to need unique items. For example, you need Tempest Roar and Great Staff of the Crone to do the Stormclaw build, and most if not all Grizzly Rage builds are going to require either Tempest Roar or Vastley's Prayer. What this does is it just allows you to run Storm skills inside of the Werewolf version with Dire Wolf's aspect, and then Vastley's makes it to where you can run Earth skills inside of the Werebear version of Grizzly Rage. So that also means that there's kind of a decent amount of working parts, because you're going to need Grizzly Rage, you're going to need Rampaging Werebeast, you're going to need Dire Wolf's Band, on top of Tempest Roar. So you're going to need 3 legendaries that literally all of which are like you kind of have to have all 3 of these Grizzly Rage builds to work, which kind of sucks. Which then also kind of leads into another issue at the end game, where it's like, because the builds that aren't running Grizzly Rage are just so much worse, it can feel kind of hard or difficult to even farm these items, which kind of sucks. But that being said, things like, there are builds like the Shred Druid, the Shred Poison Druid, which is pretty good at farming. You have like the physical Shred Druid that's been running around that is also pretty good at farming. So there are builds that do operate that you can farm on outside of this. It's just once you get to the end game, you want to do Nightmare Dungeon pushing and stuff like that, it's going to kind of start to narrow into Grizzly Rage. And even before that, it just makes the game a heck of a lot easier if you're running Grizzly Rage, unfortunately, right now. But that's really all I have to say about the in-game and the leveling experience of the Druid, for if you're, trying to decide which class you want to play, just to give you an idea of, because, we could talk about the theme of Druid and stuff like that, but that doesn't really matter at this point, right? Because the theme of Druid is cool, but the question is, what builds are actually good, and what is it realistically going to look like I'm going to be playing for the average player? And the answer right now is going to be shape-shifting and stuff like that, in order to actually be able to do the stuff that you want to be able to do, right? Because we're kind of past the theory crafting mode. The majority, I'm not going to say all the classes are solved. There's still new builds coming out, but it's like we have a much better idea of what's good now. So like if you're looking at these companion skills and you're thinking, oh man, I want to be able to just go in and play companions, you're going to notice that they kind of fall off at the end game, and you're not really going to be able to play them the higher up you go. Because currently the companion skills aren't that great, with the exception of Poison Creeper, right, and stuff like that. Now granted, keep in mind, you can play any build on World Tier 4, and you can play almost any build as long as you're just playing at level. But if you try to do Nightmare Dungeons and you start trying to push like higher and higher, that's when you're going to really notice the problem. Pretty much base world stuff, you can run anything. But just to give you an example of what a Grizzly Rage build looks like, I'll just go ahead and continue on with this so you guys can see what this kind of stuff looks like. So pretty much you just go into Grizzly Rage and you start attacking things. As you attack things, you're going to notice my damage is increasing, right? But you will see this, right? It's actually pretty fast. So Druid has really good speed farming builds, right? So, and because they have good speed farming builds, if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're into, and if you're looking for like really fast builds, I mean, Druid's pretty good for that, right? However, flip side, it's kind of gear reliant. It's kind of like the barb. Like for example, you can see I have a downtime right now in my Grizzly Rage. That's because I don't have CDR in all the spots that I need to have CDR at. So yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to fix. But at the same time, I pretty much just get to blink around because I'm playing a Shred Druid. And freaking damage resist, making these things a little bit tankier than I'd like them to be. So you can see, and this is pretty much what, whether you're playing Stormclaw or like, then if you're playing like Lightning Storm, or if you're playing like Tornado, you just switch out Shred for Tornado, switch out Shred for Pulverize, and then just doing the bear version, right? Like that's kind of how what the heck? That's kind of how this works right now. Unfortunately, if you're wondering what build I'm playing right now, I have been messing around with a poison Grizzly Rage build that focuses on applying poison with like Toxic Claws and stuff like that. Because that, I think right now is currently, it might be the highest damage Shred build, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Because you just you start applying poison with Toxic Claws, and then you just and then you back up after you've applied the poison, and use your Blurred Beast proc, and you'll end up just hitting like a truck, right? So I'll just keep on going here. Yeah, I believe some variation of this build can just like, if you have like all the stats stacked up right, you can probably even like one-shot Uber Lilith with it. But yeah, because Grizzly Rage is broken. But yeah, this is kind of what you're looking at though. Just replace Shred with whatever core skill you want to run, and that's kind of Druid in a nutshell right now. Oh, I will go ahead and finish out this dungeon, because this build's kind of speedy, so... Oh. But as you can see, and that's the other thing too, right? So like when I'm fighting these things that have like cold damage and whatnot. Oh, and there we go. Yeah. And I don't even need to use Blurred Beasts because I'm probably punching a little lower than what definitely a little lower than what I could be doing. Or actually probably quite a bit lower, but alright. Let's go kill the boss. But yeah. It's kinda Druid right now. So if you're not a fan of Grizzly Rage, I'm not certain I would suggest you play Druid. Now, it will be interesting to see what kind of stuff gets added in for the Druid during this, because you never know. You know, maybe they surprise us and they do something that really like shakes up the old meta. You know. All right. And now we go fight a Khazra Abomination. And I don't even need to be in Grizzly Rage to kill this thing. Jesus. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time.